Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and this video is going to show the fastest fully upgraded sports cars in terms of top speed. We're quickly going to go over the slowest vehicles right now, and as always the position counter is in the top left with the actual top speed the car achieved in the top right. This video only focuses on straight line performance, so if you're interested in racing where braking, cornering and acceleration are all relevant, check the link in the description for the lap time testing series. And if you want to know more information about this testing, including the extent to which it's accurate and how useful it is for you personally, have a read of the full description as everything that you need is in there. This video lists all cars and is correct as of the Super Sport Series update. For vehicles added after that or other classes of cars, check the playlist linked in the second line of the description, and feel free to check out my Patreon if you want to get these testing results a few days before the videos go up every Thursday. So we had the lap time testing video for the sports class last week, and now we've got the top speeds. Again, the same things apply. An absolutely huge class, 56 vehicles is just insane. Lots of vehicles that are really, they shouldn't be in the sports class. They could be put in sedans, coupes, or a wide variety of different classes if there were more than just what we have right now. So that has all been said in the lap time testing video. But when it comes to top speed, it's quite interesting that a lot of the vehicles are all actually really close together, and there's not an awful lot of variety or difference in the sports class as a whole when you compare it to some of the other classes in the game. So obviously the bottom end is very slow, as we saw with the Chameleon in last place, and then the Ballistic Compact not too far ahead of it. They're around the 102, 103 miles per hour, which is very slow for this class. And then the number one vehicle is obviously ridiculously quick as well, which we'll see. But we're getting close to the point already. We're only up to 45th place with the Omnus at 112.5 miles per hour, but we're not going to see a major increase in terms of top speed all the way until we get to first place. And actually at this point, when we get to 43rd place with the Neon here, which is very good around a track, but obviously because it's an electric vehicle it doesn't have great top speed. Having said that, it's got one of the better top speeds for an electric vehicle in the game. But the Neon's got a top speed of 114 miles per hour in 43rd place overall. Drift Tamper's just ahead of it with 114.3 in 42nd. And when we get to second place, we're only going to have increased the top speed value by 10 miles per hour. So there's more than 40 vehicles in the space of a 10 mile per hour range within the sports cars class. LG Retro Custom is another one that's very good around a track that has pretty poor top speed. But when you compare that top speed to, even though it's quite low down in the class, we're looking at 39th, 40th places here, you might think that that's quite low down, at least in terms of positions. Those are quite big numbers in a huge class like sports. That's quite far down the order. But when you actually look at the relative values in comparison to some of the top vehicles, the difference isn't really all that much, and we're going to see it all sort of culminate together in the middle, kind of concertina up in the middle of the video, because there's so many vehicles that share almost exactly the same top speed, and there's actually quite a lot of vehicles that do share exactly the same top speed. We've got the brand new Flash GT here, again only down in 35th place, but like I said, when you compare the top speed of 116.3 miles per hour to some of the vehicles that we see, say for example around the top 10 area, it's not that much of a difference in terms of top speed. So it's not always just about the position that it is in the class. It's also about, and this goes for lap times as well, not just looking at, okay, it's 33rd in the class, that's useless, but also looking at the lap time or the top speed that exists for it and comparing that with other vehicles, and just use a bit of your own critical thinking to decide if that is too far behind what you want, or it's not, it's going to be fine and it will make it up in the corners, things like that. For example, we saw the Neon and the LG Retro Custom, which did very well for lap time, being quite far down in terms of top speed. But again, that's because their top speed deficit, although they're quite low down in the list, isn't really all that much in terms of absolute values. And the same is true here for the LG RH8. For a long time was the king of the sports cars class, but it was quite low down in the order for top speed. But because the highest top speed values of the class were really not all that much higher than the LG, we didn't, it continued to be dominant at the top. regarding most situations. So we're up to this 118, 119 mile per hour section now, and this particular value of 119.3 and also 119.5 and also 119 in general is where we're going to see a lot of vehicles. So a lot of cars here have a value of 119 point something miles per hour. We've got the Futo has exactly the same top speed as the Jester race car, for example. You know, some very interesting differences to what we saw from the lap time. And because lap time is, you know, lap time's all about cornering ability, how much traction you can get around the corners, how much speed you can take around the corners, also acceleration out of the corners, things like that. Lap time is very, very rarely determined on top speed. So we're seeing some vehicles that were quite low down in the lap time order, like we saw with the two Rapid GTs just there, that are actually quite high up in terms of top speed. This 119.5 miles per hour, you know, covering quite a few vehicles like the Carbon Air, the Tropos Rally, the Rapid GTs, all sharing that exact same top speed. But the Carbon Air ultimately will beat a Rapid GT around a track because it's got better cornering ability, better top speed, better acceleration, I should say, sorry. And that is sort of the thing to keep in mind with all of this. Now, also keep in mind that with my top speed videos, when vehicles have exactly the same top speed, that the vehicles that would do better around a track, the vehicle that gets a better lap time, is the one that's given the higher position. So even though the Forza has exactly the same top speed as the Rapid GT, the Forza is on top of the vehicles that all have 119.5 miles per hour as their top speed, because it is the best around a track out of all those, you know, vehicles. Again, the 9F and the 9F Cabrio here with 119.8, you know, so little difference to choose between these vehicles in terms of top speed that in reality, in a regular racing or just general driving situation, there's so many other variables to do with various inputs into the steering, all that kind of stuff can affect top speed, even to a minute amount, that these tiny differences of 1 or 2 miles per hour really don't make an awful lot of difference from a racing perspective. And oftentimes that's why some of the better sports cars overall have been those that are completely dominated around a track, because the top speeds of the top speed advantages that some of the cars have isn't really all that much, and it isn't enough to make a significant difference. So again, the Furora GT here in 14th place, it does quite well to get up here considering how badly it did in terms of lap time. 120.3 miles per hour, pretty respectable. You know, we're above that 120 mile per hour barrier now. The Serrano here with 121 mile per hour, very respectable top speeds. You know, there are certainly quite a few supercars that have lower speeds than this, and these are the same sort of speeds as some of the sort of the older style supercars like the T20s, the Osiris, the Zentorno, Entities, things like that. So for sports cars, these are these are relatively decent top speeds. We got the Comet Retro Custom here in 12th place with 121.3, just narrowly beating out the Serrano, and all competent vehicles overall. You know, that they're pretty respectable vehicles in an overall situation. But when we get to the number one spot, you'll see why that kind of doesn't ring true up until that point. So there's very good balance in the sports class really until we get to the number one spot, as we'll see. But as we're coming into the top 10, we got the Spectre Custom here, just sneaks into the top 10 by way of the sort of the tiebreaker that I explained earlier. Has exactly the same top speed as the regular Spectre, the Spectre Custom, but because it's slightly quicker around a track, it gets the benefit of having that 10th place over the Spectre, which goes down into 11th. But you know, they have the same top speed really. Like I said, it's actually about the top speeds themselves, not necessarily about the positions that they're in. The Lynx has a good showing here in 9th place with 121.5 miles per hour. So kind of making it insanely high cost a little bit more understandable or relevant, but still, you can spend a lot less money and still be going a lot quicker. And like I said, this is only, you know, 1 mile per hour or 2 miles per hour quicker than that huge massive vehicles that we saw that were all around that 119 range. And in a regular situation, you're not really going to notice that 1-2 mile per hour difference. So now we've got a 4-way tie, I think it is here, for basically a 4-way tie for 5th place, starting with the Hot Ring Saber in 8th. Again, with the way that ties happen, you know, essentially the tiebreaker, the Hot Ring Saber is in 8th place. The Falira here is in 7th place because it is quicker around the track. Relatively decent top speeds, you know, these are into the top 10 for sports cars now. They're pretty impressive. The Hot Ring Saber, the Falira here, good top speeds, sharing exactly the same top speed with the 2 Masacros as well. And it's the Masacro race car that just manages to sneak into that, you know, the top 5 really in 5th place, again because of the fact that it's quicker around the track. But they all share exactly the same top speed of 121.8 miles per hour, and that is a very, very good top speed. You can certainly get from point A to point B pretty decently in these sort of top end sports cars, and with a lot of them, like the Masacro, the balance was always really interesting because between the Masacro and, for example, the Feltzer always used to be better in terms of the cornering. The Masacro always had that little bit of an edge in terms of top speed, so it was always an interesting balance. And the sports class in general, if you take out sort of the bottom few and the top few, it has some really interesting balance in it. In terms of lap time, you could probably say that it should be split up a little bit more, but you know, it's quite an interesting class. It's just too big. The Common SR in 4th place with 122.0 miles per hour. Very, very good top speed that, and considering it's only half a second quicker than the LG in terms of lap time, its top speed advantage over the LG is where it really does, you know, hammer that advantage home. 3rd place is the 770, really good top speed of 123.5 miles per hour. We've seen a bit of a significant difference here, so we've had it all sort of concertina up to that 119 mile per hour range, and now we're spreading back out a little bit as we get towards the top end. And 123.5 miles per hour is a full 1.5 mile per hour quicker than the Comet SR. Very, very decent car overall, the 770. 2nd place, we've got the Shafter V12, 124.3 miles per hour. For a long time, this was the #1 sports car in terms of top speed. Really, really impressive top speed of 124.3 miles per hour there. But obviously, as we all probably know by now, there's no beating the #1. It's the new king. It is the Pariah. At this point, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already for new testing videos every Thursday and update videos when new cars are released, and check out other classes in the playlist. But the Pariah gets a top speed of 136 miles per hour. So if you thought that all the other sports cars were really, really close together and tightly packed, you were right. And then as soon as we get to the #1 spot, that just skyrockets into ridiculousness. 136.0 miles per hour makes the Pariah the quickest non-rocket powered car in the entire game. It beats every single supercar for top speed. It beats all muscle cars, sports classics. It obviously beats all sports cars, as you've been seeing. You can see from the comparison between the Pariah and the Shafter V12 that, you know, the difference from 1st to 2nd is ridiculous, and the difference from 1st to 56th is even larger and even more ridiculous. But the Pariah is just insane. Obviously, we've had an update at this point, so there's nothing actually bugged or wrong with the Pariah like it has been in the past with the Viserys or when the RE7B had a crazy top speed. The Pariah is meant to be this quick, and it's not going to be patched, it's not going to be nerfed. It is just completely dominant, regardless of whether it's lap time or top speed, as we saw from the lap time testing video last week, and as we're seeing from the top speed testing video this week. So if you take the Pariah out, you know, there's quite a bit of decent balance in the sports class, but ultimately the Pariah reigns supreme, a good 12 miles per hour quicker than the next best, and just demolishes everything else. There really is nothing that you need in the sports class other than a Pariah for regular races. So that's pretty much it for this video. Remember to read the description for more info, comment with your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed or found it helpful, subscribe for more, and consider supporting on Patreon. Thank you all so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.